Hello, everyone. Today I have a special guest. It's not just me blabbing about moving abroad. I have Sarah Davie with me from Spartan FX. She is going to talk about everything financial, so much tips. And oh my God, this is so important because money is a big topic when we're moving abroad, isn't it? So I am so happy to have Sarah here. And Sarah, let's get straight into it. But before we get into the meat of all of your tips and your advice regarding money, because I know people are super excited to hear about that, I would love to hear something that you want to share with us that maybe few people know or no one knows maybe, and we're the first to know. So welcome, Sarah. And what can you share about yourself with our viewers that few people know about you?
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me here. Yeah, no, I think one of the things that, I mention it now and then, but I'm sure many people don't know that when I was at university here in the UK, which is where I'm based, I did a year abroad in North Carolina. So I lived in Greensboro for 12 months, which was a fantastic experience. I managed to do a little bit of traveling around sort of Chicago, South Carolina, New York, and a few other places as well. Even made it to Graceland, which is on my bucket list. And then also later on, I came back and did a little bit of a road trip around Texas, so Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin, and a few other places as well, and stayed on a ranch, lived on a ranch, working ranch, which was
that sounds like fun. That sounds like
great fun. So I've got my cowboy boots and cowboy hat that I got measured for. So did it.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. And I'm sure that this experience helps a lot when dealing with people from other cultures, because when we're immersed in another culture, we feel things first-handedly, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know it's slightly different because obviously it was a year abroad. I was only there for 12 months. A lot of the customers are actually moving as their permanent move. But what was interesting for me is that I'm English. I speak English. There's no language barrier moving to America. You know, people were talking about a culture shock, and I was like, culture shock? I've been on holiday to America. Everyone speaks English. There's no language barrier. Got there and I was really homesick. I didn't expect that or see that coming at all. And I think it's little things, you know, I know it sounds trivial, but, you know, kind of, you know, different foods that are not available that you have at home, the way that, you know, people cook with different herbs or whatever it may be. It's just not as familiar when you're adjusting. As I said, it's perhaps not as extreme as other countries, but I think I wasn't really expecting it. And I found quite hard. And also you don't know anybody either. And that's quite kind of lonely, and sort of starting again, trying to find new friends. So yeah, it was a lot, and the moves, it was just a lot to take in, I would say. So I would imagine that's really perhaps a similar experience to people that want to move to Portugal.
Yes. Absolutely. And what you're describing is like what typically happens with people. You know, it involves all areas of our life, right? You know, our health, our environment for sure, because we're changing the environment, our relationships with family because we're far away, our relationship with friends, you know, being away from old ones, having to make new ones. And also a very important area of life that is affected when we move abroad is finances. And I cannot tell you how many times, you know, people come up to me like, I don't know how to start budgeting. I don't know how to understand the cost of living, or I'm thinking about, you know, purchasing an apartment or house and moving big sums of money, and they feel super stressed out about that, I think with reason. Mm-hmm. So you are in the finance industry with foreign exchange with Spartan FX. So share with us some of the most common mistakes that you see so people don't make them.
No, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, often, I mean, people are doing small amounts. I mean, it can be for anything. It can be for fees that you're paying, maybe a lawyer or removal company. It can be paying for your NIF. It can be buying a car. You know, there can be some small, just sending to top up a local account. But then there are larger sums, perhaps in purchasing a property, moving savings, or even rental. Sometimes I'm hearing people have to put 6 to 12 months down in advance. So we're talking about larger sums of money, larger than probably what you're normally dealing with on a day-to-day, or certainly it's there maybe in your account, but you're not transferring it around often. So that in itself can be a little bit daunting, pressing that button of, where's my money going? So that's to bear in mind. But I think the biggest mistake is that people don't think about it soon enough. Yes, they come to you when they need to make a payment, and yes, we can help as a business, but you do have less options. You literally have to do it there and then, send it across, and that's it, done. Whereas if you're thinking about it sooner, and there's no set date, I can't say you've got to think about it 3, 6, 12 months before. There's no set. Everybody's situation is different, everybody's time frames are different, and the requirements that you have are different, and they're at different timings. So some people end up moving quicker than others depending on their situation. But I think it's really should be something that you're thinking about early on for a number of reasons. One, what's happening with the exchange rates. So at the moment, certainly for customers that are in America and they're buying euros, the rates are really good at the moment. So a lot of customers are actually buying euros in advance of needing any payments. Why? To just benefit from the strong US dollar and the weak euro. We have a facility where we can hold euros on account free of charge. So if you haven't got a bank account set up yet in Portugal, that's not a problem. We can hold the funds for you. Very much similar like a bank account, and as far as you can log online, see your account, see the money there, but also you can make payments to third parties as well. So there is a lot more that you can do with the account, but it's there for convenience that we hold those euros. The other thing to bear in mind is that, yes, we're always watching out for a better rate of exchange, but a lot of what we do is really help people budget, because we really need to find out what money you've got available and what your budget is. Because yes, it's all right watching out for a better rate, but if the rate moves, so for example, earlier in the year, in May, we saw a rate movement of 4%, and that was against you. So if you had a payment to make in a month's time, in that time period, actually, you would have been better off buying it at the beginning of the month rather than at the end of the month, for example. So no one's got a crystal ball, but there is things that we have in place, especially if you know you're buying a property. It's different from purchasing in your home country where you're given the price. That is the price, apart from lawyers' fees, surveys. It will change. It will fluctuate with the rate. So what we're helping to do is lock that price in for you by either buying euros in advance or fixing the rate with a 10% deposit. So it just really secures, because you said people are budgeting not just for this, you're budgeting how much you need to pay for a visa, how much you need to pay for this, this and this.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to find that there's an unexpected price increase of something that you weren't planning for at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's great advice, actually, because it get involved with the financial planning and with the financial aspects as soon as possible, so you can take advantage of potential differences in exchange rate, what we're seeing right now, the US towards the euro. And you can only do that when you plan ahead, when you kind of know what's going to happen. So that is an amazing tip. And and I see that mistake not only with the finances, but with everything. And sometimes people come to me as an expat coach, and I don't help with the finances, but when the stuff hits the fan and they're starting to feel too overwhelmed, I was like, do that before, don't wait until you're stressed out about finances or about anything else to get help, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there is a lot of volatility. There's a lot of things that can just come out of nowhere. We've seen a pandemic, we've seen a war. That war might end, hopefully, at some point. But as soon as it does, that could really impact the rates. We're talking about global recessions. There's lots of things that are really impacting the rates and can do it very quickly. So while maybe right now it might be good, something could happen tomorrow and that could change very quickly overnight. We've certainly seen it in the UK we've got a little bit of few issues with our Prime Minister and mini budgets. But equally, again, in this scenario, again, no one's got a crystal ball, but if you were purchasing a property, you had a deadline and you had to pay it now, you've got to pay it now, regardless of the rates. So the rates have moved against you. It is slightly more expensive to buy that property, but you've got to make that payment. You've got a deadline to make. Whereas maybe had we spoken to you a few weeks before, then maybe we could have not fully foreseen it, but obviously that we knew things were going to come out. You could have said, well, actually, just in case, let's fix the rate or buy those euros perhaps.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you talked a little bit about how Spartan FX helps people with buying currency, with holding the currency. What else does Spartan FX help people with?
I always say there's sort of really three elements that we help people. We can save you money on the rate on the day. We can help you manage those exchange rate movements, or certainly help think about your budgets. But the third thing, and probably what we spend most of our time doing, is really just being there as a support network for these payments, around the process of how you're moving your money. We check the beneficiary account details. We make sure they're correct. We're always available on the phone. You can ring us if your bank teller's asking questions you're not sure. We can help them send that payment in an efficient way. So there's lots more that we do, really more around the kind of process and around making sure that we have the right compliance documents for the money transfer. And the other tip as well, which is another reason why you need to think about it early on, is when you're in your home country, you might not need to make any payments, or you've made small ones and they've been fine. But that's because you're there in your home country. But when you move to Portugal, what we've seen with quite a few customers, they've not thought about it before they leave. There might be more problems getting the money out. We've seen customers have to fly back home, which is expensive. There may be some groundwork that you can do before you leave, getting an international card reader, making sure there's any documentation that you need to sign. Maybe some customers have given power of attorney to people they trust, like their sister, for example. There's things that maybe you can, or certainly do your research, what you need to do to make it easier when you've actually left Portugal.
Absolutely. Left your home country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were talking about it, what came to mind is kind of like what you provide, in a sense, is a lot of financial peace of mind. You like knowing that if I have a question, I know who to ask, someone trustworthy who will, give me a straight answer, who will have my best interest in their mind. So that's, when we're talking about that, that's what came to my mind.
I think a few people have said it, and I think it's absolutely lovely. So I will share it, but you can see it, on our reviews exactly how we help customers. But a few times people have said, we feel like we're part of a family, the Spartan FX family. Or there was a customer the other day said, they now feel that Neil, their dealer, is their friend. And should some of my colleagues go out to Portugal, I think there's beers waiting for them.
That's not a bad perspective.
No.
That's awesome. So now that we're wrapping up, this was an amazing wealth of information. I hope everyone watched until the very end, because Sarah shared so much tips and so much precious information. It can be daunting to move abroad in many different ways, and we know that money and finances is a sticky topic. So we want to get the best advice. We want to get not only the best in terms of technical information, but also in terms of human touch. So how can people reach Spartan FX? I can see behind you a lot of the contact information. Is there any other way you want to share that people can get in touch with you?
That's the best way. Get in touch, call us, email us. As I said, we are based in the UK, but we deal with customers that are all around the world, especially in America. We have the licensing in place. But if there's an issue, do email us and we can set up WhatsApp calls if that's more convenient for you.
Absolutely. That's great. And Sarah also shared a special link, which I will include in the description box, for people to follow that link. And also all that information is behind her, will be also in the description box. So, and if you have any questions, Sarah has been a sweetheart when talking and preparing before this interview. So I'm sure she will be happy to answer any of your questions. Or if you want, you can message me and I'll connect you to Sarah directly. Any way that makes your life easier and smoother in your move abroad. Thank you so much, Sarah. It was a pleasure to talk to you as always.
No problem. Thank you.
It was so much fun. And for everyone watching, thank you. I hope this was valuable information. I really thrive to bring trustworthy people that can share their experience to make the move abroad a smooth and easy process for everyone. So thank you so much. I hope to see you next time, and get in touch if you have any questions. Bye-bye.
Bye.